I know, we've been talking a lot about GTA 6, and it's hard not to when there's so much information flying around. About a week ago, we went over the latest batch of leaks, and I stand by what I said in that video about them all being likely legitimate. But now, we have another batch, although it's less likely to come to fruition, likely because the leaker admits they're not in the works anymore. Now, everybody's been talking about the possible setting of GTA 6, which is currently believed to be Miami or some fictionalized version of it. And the number of playable protagonists, which is currently believed to be 2, a brother and a sister, it may be different. Or it was different. I mean, according to a recent report, there were scrapped early plans that would have blown this out of the water. Rockstar's ambitions were initially much larger. Welcome to VideoGameLeaks, everybody. That's what we cover every single day. What if I told you that GTA 6 would have 3 cities and 4 protagonists? Drop a like, make sure you guys are subscribed with your notifications on so you never miss a new upload. And according to Steven Totilo of Axios, Grand Theft Auto 6, also known as Project Americas, was originally going to feature 3 cities and 4 playable protagonists. Now, comparing this intel to the other leaks we've had, it can be inferred that Vice City or some other version of Miami was one of the cities in question, especially since it's now believed to be the main setting. But the 4 characters, that kind of caught me off guard. Now, GTA 5 featured 3 main characters. Red Dead Redemption 2 brought things back to basics with just 1, but looking at all the leaks surrounding GTA 6, it seems nobody can figure out how many playable characters there are going to be. Early reports said 1, then it was 2, then it was 3 for a while, then it went back to 2, then it was 1, and now we're back to 2, but 4? My first thought was that the 4 characters is way too much for a story, but then again, if there were going to be 3 different cities, this could actually work. The more main characters you have in a story, the harder it's going to be for players to get invested in any one of them, because if you're constantly changing perspective and control, that can mess up the flow, right? Now, granted, GTA 5 did this pretty well, and there have been other games with multiple protagonists that are really effective, but there's a reason you usually don't see games with more than 2 characters. Now, it can be assumed that each of these 3 cities would have the same level of care and quality that each main GTA city has had up to this point, so think about that. That would be a massive game, and while it sounds good on paper and from a gameplay standpoint for us, the fan, I can see why Rockstar may have been looking at this as a barrier for their storytelling. Again, if the map is too big, it's really hard to get invested in. So while 4 characters in 3 cities does sound awesome on paper and probably would have been great for marketing, it probably would have came at a cost. The story and the flow, which is what Rockstar is pretty known for. Now, they're not about to sacrifice their top-notch storytelling for the sake of gameplay gimmicks. They're not, especially after they got themselves in hot water with the GTA Remastered trilogy and their milking of GTA Online. Now, it's been speculated that GTA 6 is actually going to feature new cities as DLC, so it is entirely possible that the base game will feature Miami, Vice City, whatever you want to call it, as its main location, but as time goes on, it evolves. The other 2 cities get added as DLC. Liberty City is always being rumored as a DLC location as well. So if Rockstar plans on doing story DLC for GTA 6, which they absolutely probably will, and they should, to be honest with you, I can see it happening. I can see them drip feeding us an original vision of the game coming to life. Think back to GTA 4 for a second. 2 huge expansions that game had. The Lost and then the Ballad of Gay Tony. It added a ton of content to the base game, and it also gave the player dozens of hours worth of story content and exploration. GTA 5 sacrificed a single-player DLC for the sake of supporting GTA Online, which I guess it's totally fair, but if GTA 6 is going to bring back the expansion model of 4, I think it's very likely this cut content gets added. It's going to be added over the course of a couple years. It's like a fine wine or fine cheese. It'll age out. Now, I think this is the best case scenario. Launch the game with a really tight story in a single city, but as time goes on, evolve. Add more cities, characters, stories, all to the base game via DLC and make them all tie together in one way or another, so that way 2 to 3 years after GTA 6 comes out, it becomes this massive experience with a whole bunch of different stories to experience. That way, we have all the cities, we have all the stories that Rockstar wanted to show us initially, but they've been released in a way that didn't overwhelm the player or take away focus from any one aspect of the vision. Now, never thought I'd be advocating for Rockstar to actually make their game smaller, but that's kind of where I'm at. Rockstar shines when they're focusing on one story in one location. While it may sound like a great idea to go absolutely crazy nutty ham and make GTA 6 the biggest game ever made with the most characters ever, super, I think it would go against what Rockstar's good at. Then again, If they release the game with a single focus and they really blow us away with that story, they could then release more content and more stories over time, one at a time, and just constantly evolve it. And then at the end, you have an Avengers level crossover event. I'm kidding, kind of. Anyway, we could experience all those, get blown away again and again and again. And then by the time 2026 or 2027 rolls around, guess what? GTA 6 is now this giant open world experience with a ton of interconnecting stories that you can play through at one time, and then you can take a step back and you can see how they all connect. Now, as much as I love Rockstar and as talented as I think they are, I really don't see them pulling off a 3-city, 4-character story on launch day all at once. And I don't think the gaming world would be as stoked about it. I really don't. As cool as it would be to get a game that big, most people would just be overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it. And I think Rockstar knows that. I think if this is true, they made the right call to scale things back. Now, hopefully, the rumors about single-player DLC are true, because it's about time that we got that back. Let's all be in agreement on that one at least. Remember GTA 4's DLC? Remember Undead Nightmare for the first Red Dead Redemption game? Whatever happened to the big single-player expansions for open-world games? Now, I love GTA Online as much as the next guy, but I don't think something like that needs to come at the expense of single-player DLC. So I ask you guys, what do you think? Give me your opinion. Do you think 3 Cities, 4 Protagonists is overdoing it? Or do you think if there's any developer out there that could pull it off on launch day, it's Rockstar? Me personally, sounds good on paper, probably wouldn't end up that well. And I think they're looking for longevity with this game. They want this game to hit hard for a decade. I'm not joking. They're probably looking at the flow of GTA 6 and GTA Online, whatever that looks like when GTA 6 launches, as a decade-long drip feed of content. Look at GTA 5. I mean, they're gonna do the exact same thing with the next one, probably even bigger, probably even longer. So you have to have constant updates. You have to have constant things to keep people kind of integrated and stimulated with the game. What better way than to slowly build out your events? I think back to the Infinity Saga of Marvel. A decade, almost 11 years is how long they built that out and fleshed that out before we got to Infinity War and Endgame. And I know this is a video game, this is GTA, this is not the MCU, but kind of with that same premise, that same thought process of how they could actually do this and make it this huge interconnected story down the road. Just my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you soon.